About the Bigsby, and I'm a big fan of Johnny A, is it's a lot like pepper in food. It's almost the best when you don't notice it. When you use it, just a little. End of a song. It's so different than just not, but you don't notice it. And what I need, I love Bigsby, and I own a lot of guitars. I'm one of those nutcases with a lot of guitars. I would never play them out, because as soon as I did that, it's out of tune. And I'm, sometimes I do a lot of R&B and soul, but sometimes I do major sevenths and real melodious stuff, and it sticks out like a sore thumb, and it was driving me buggy. And if anybody's followed my career, I'm a bit of an engineer and an inventor, and I said, no, wait a minute. What's going on here? So like most people, I went out on the internet. I'm lazy. How can I get this sorted out? Somebody must have addressed this, and I found actually there was a raft of gizmos and gadgets and devices, and I tried a few of them because I'm lazy, and unfortunately they didn't work. So I said, okay, back to the drawing board. What's going on? Why do the guitars go out of tune?
So playing with the standard Bigsby after dive bombing a little bit, you can tell it has gone out of tune.
This actually, and I love this guitar, I've had it a long time, is one of my prototypes. First thing I noticed is that the strings were migrating on the bar as you were using it. Well, okay, how can I stop that? Well, sounds corny, but I have a lathe in my shop, so I put some grooves and cause the strings to come wrap around the grooves. And gosh darn it, first time I used it, problem solved. This is my very first one, and I'm keeping it for sentimental purposes. Like an idiot, I put those steel posts back in, figuring, hey, then I realized my other bête noire, I have forgotten why I didn't play Bigsbys out, is God forbid I might break a string. Ay. And I don't need to tell people what it's like. You break a string with the Bigsby, especially if you're old and you can't see so well. That's why I took two guitars. Literally, every time I went and played out with a Bigsby guitar, I took two, in case, God forbid, I broke a string. Well, moving along to phase 2, I said to myself, what's the easiest guitar I own to change a string on? That's easy. As much as I like Strats, sometimes through the block in the back can be a pain. Let's face it, it's a stop-tail Gibson. What's simpler? You put the string through, you put it on the peg, you're back in business. So I drilled the rod completely through like a stop-tail. So all you have to do now on the actual unit that we've gone to production with is just like a stop-tail. You break a string, you just put the string through, wrap it around, a couple times around the peg, 60 seconds, you're playing, you're in tune. You don't even have to stop the song. You can do it mid-song.
Part of the reason that I don't use a Bigsby regularly, I am a working musician, and honestly, they're somewhat problematic. Tuning is a huge issue, especially with the string breakage, and replacing a string on stage, heat of the moment.
Anyone who's played a Bigsby knows the issue. Those damn little posts. The posts, you have to hook the ball end on just right, then wrap it through, then go underneath the ball bearing bit here, and then over your bridge while keeping tension on it. You have to string it up through the tuners. And then after about 10 times of that, and you're pulling your hair out and you're swearing it, you finally say, someone else do this damn thing, because the ball ends always pop out. This has totally eliminated that. It's actually string through. I mean, there's been other modifications to Bigsby's over the years. Sometimes you have a little snap-on adapter you drop the strings in, which I've seen a couple of those. I've used a couple of those, but those are tone hogs. They wipe out any amount of sustain you could ever imagine having out of a Bigsby. By snapping that little thing on, sure, you can change strings easier, but now you can't hold a note for less than half a measure before it dies out on you. This is the best of that both worlds. It's just like stringing a Telecaster. Whoop through, wrap it around, and boom, you're on. It's actually completely wrapping around the bar. There's no post. There's a hole the ball end goes into. Just like every guitar player that's ever played a stop tailpiece or any Strat or anything is familiar with, is that hole. Just drop the ball end through the hole, wrap the string around, string your guitar. Just that easy.
Well, as I've mentioned, I own a lot of guitars. Now, some, like this beautiful one, came with a Bigsby. Well, I was smart enough to make my bar so it will retrofit into a standard Bigsby. But I'm also putting Bigsbys on a lot of guitars now that they work and I love them. So our complete unit uses the same bar, which can interchange any standard Bigsby, but we've made some improvements. First off, it's die cast. It's much more rigid than the aluminum that Bigsby uses. I think it's a little higher level of finish. And of course, I think we're using a little better needle bearings.
This is what changes out. There's actually grooves in it that keep your strings where it's supposed to be. And if you see the holes, there's actually holes you drop the ball end of the string into. Just like every other guitar ever invented. Telecasters, Strats, we all like them because they stay in tune. We have the Bigsby guitar for that one or two songs, but it never stays in tune, so you go back to the Strat. You can play one of these all night now. You don't have to change guitars because you're not worrying about the posts. You're not worried about dive bombing and going out of tune. All those issues have been alleviated with this. And most importantly, you keep the sustain.
I honestly think that the TremTrue, which we make as a complete unit, all your popular Bigsby styles, is a superior unit. From the materials we use, that it's die cast, it's precision machined, we use a higher quality bearing, it's to a higher level of finish. A big difference, that I may show, is that because it stays in tune, because you don't have that concern, we were able to use a longer spring, giving you a wider range of travel. This allows you to have the same level of effect almost as a Strat, maybe not quite. It's really a tremendous improvement, at least for me. Once in a while, I just want to do that whole Dwayne Eddy thing. And it's, I think, a tremendous difference between the two products. I also think anyone who purchased one will be very pleased with the fit. We have, of course, located the screw holes exactly the same as the original Bigsby. So to install and replace your Bigsby with a TremTrue is as simple as 4 screws. I believe, as you can see, they line up perfectly. It's literally a matter of 5 minutes to step up to a TremTrue.
My first thoughts were, it doesn't seem like it's too different, but it's obviously making a big difference, which is kind of cool. It's not like you're, it's not that much of a departure. It's just a better system.